Hey, welcome back, y'all. Today we're going to look at the Lee Load-All 2, reload some 12 gauge on it, talk a little bit about it. Now this is the first shotgun shell reloader that I used. When I wanted to get into this, my wife bought me this for my birthday, and I loaded probably 2,000 rounds on this before I decided to upgrade to a mech, the 600 Junior, which we already did a video on. So this seems to be a popular press for those learning to reload. So we'll just say this again, said it in my last video, make sure you're using some sort of reloading manual from a reputable place and be safe out there. And like I say, I've had this press for a while, probably 4 or 5 years. So I don't remember everything about unboxing it, but as far as I know, this comes with everything you need to start loading, other than your components, your primers, your powder, wads, all that stuff. It comes with quite a few bushings. This little grouping here on the left, these are your shot bushings, and it's anywhere from 7/8 up to 1.75 ounces is that small one right there. And then over here we have our powder bushings, and each one of those has a number on it. Not sure how close or how good this is going to come in. Now I don't know if those numbers correspond to anything other than a bushing chart. It's in the back of a lot of reloading manuals. The press came with one. Here's some different bushing charts. This guy here is the one that came with the press, and that happens to be, as far as I can tell, the same as this one. It's in the back of the Lyman manual. And then I have a different reloading manual here that has a different bushing table in here with different values. Okay, so I use 700X and usually use a 148 bushing. So if we follow that over, this chart says 16.7. Now if we look at the same thing on here, 700X, come over to 148 bushing. This one says it should throw 18.1. So what does that tell us? These charts should get you in a right general area, but it's important to weigh those charges and double check this information. Alright, so on this press, the charge bar is behind this nameplate right here. Pull off these 2 screws and you pull your charge bar out. Make sure the hopper up here is empty of both powder and shot if you don't want a big mess. So I don't have any powder or shot in here, so we're going to go ahead and pull this nameplate off and try not to lose these screws. And here you can see the charge bar. Should just slide out real easy. And you can see what bushings you have in here. You can see I have 1 1/8 ounces. Hopefully you can see that. And then I have a 163 bushing for powder in here. These bushings come out fairly easy. They just slide out from the bottom. Press from the top a little bit and they fall right on the floor. Side note, when you drop these things on the floor, they go into the most random of places. And they're bright red, so how the heck can you miss them? Because it hit and bounced and flew right in there. I load up 1 ounce number 8 shot using 700X and a TGT 12 wad. Okay, these are just for trap and skeet loads. So I got my favorite load here, starred 700X powder. So we need 17.5 grains, a TGT 12 wad, and should give us about 12-17 feet per second. Now this is for 1 ounce loads using Remington STSs, which I use gun clubs primarily, but you load those the same as an STS. So now we flip back to our bushing chart. We know we need 17.5 grains of 700X. So using this chart, closest we get is 17.2, and that's saying a 141 bushing. If we look at this other chart, 700X, we need 17.5, and that's saying we should use a 155 bushing. Let's put both of those in and weigh them on a scale and see what they throw. So we need to put 2 bushings in this charge bar. First one we're going to select is our shot bushing. We know we want 1 ounce, and we're just going to take that, slide it in the bottom, and that's in place. Now the other thing we're going to have to do is we have to select our powder bushing. Try the 141. 141. I don't know if you can see that or not. And that is going to go in the left slot in this charge bar. You really can't get them mixed up. They're different diameters. Now we're going to slide this charge bar back in, put the nameplate back on. No need to He-Man these things down either. Just snug. And this slides back and forth with no trouble. Okay, now we're going to have to load some powder in here, and we'll dump powder and see what happens with a 141 bushing. So we take this lid off and we get our powder and dump some in there. Alright, so what we're going to do, just using a hole here, make sure it has a primer in the bottom of it, or when you drop powder it's going to go right out through the bottom of this and make a mess. Powder and shot both come out of this tube right here, the middle tube. So we're just going to slide that hole in there, press down our handle, slide the charge bar over, okay, which it didn't do anything right now. It didn't drop anything right now, I should say. It just dropped powder into our powder bushing. Now we'll take this charge bar, slide it to the right. Now that should have dropped powder. Let our handle up, and we'll look in there. Camera's not going to see in there, but yes, it does have powder. So now we're going to weigh this on my electronic scale here. Alright, so evidently technology is hard, and I forget to press buttons sometimes. So missed the part where I dumped the powder in that we just dropped. We ended up with 15 grains. So what we're going to do is dump this back in the hopper and dump powder again. So we're dumping that back in. We'll take our hole and drop powder a second time. Dropped. Okay, so remember we need 17.5 grains. So right now we're about 2 grains short. So we need to move up in bushing size. So how do we change bushings? Remember, the charge bar has to come out. And if the charge bar has to come out and we don't want a big mess, powder and shot hoppers must be empty. So I'm going to empty this off camera. So we know the 141 bushing is about 2 grains short. So let's see, 141, the next size we got is 148. So let's try a 148. Get the 148 in here. Don't want to dump a lot in, because if we got to change this again, I don't want to be emptying it for 100 years. Get it in that station, pull down your handle, and move it over to the right, and that should have dropped powder. Now since that was empty, I'm just going to throw that back up in there this time, and this will hopefully give us a more accurate idea. Now let's weigh this and see how much powder it threw. 16.4. Try one more with this bushing and see if it changes at all. So we're still short. Okay, so a 155 bushing is the next one we have. So this is the one we're going to try, and hopefully this is the right one for us. Let's see what a 155 bushing is going to give us. $17.1. Well, we're at least close. So let's see what we have on the second test. $17. So it looks like we may have to go up one more bushing. Okay, we've got a 163 bushing in there now. And now we're almost a grain over. Let's try a second dump of powder. There, we're a grain over still. Okay, so I consulted another manual. It's saying that the 16.5 grains of 700X gives us about 1,200 feet per second, which is right around where these other loads were. Put the 148 bushing back in there, and let's see what we got. About 16.5, and we'll try one more. Okay, here's the second drop with the 148 bushing. I think I'm pretty happy with that, and that's what we're going to go with. Alright, so that probably took me half an hour, something like that, to work through that. Do we have to do that every time? Let's hope not. We should be writing notes down so we remember which bushing we used for what load. Still a good idea to check it, drop powder once or twice, 5 times, something like that, and weigh them on a scale, and just to make sure nothing's changed. Alright, so I'm going to get some powder filled up here and get some shot in here so we can start the load. And a minute ago I was talking about being out here and weighing loads and it taking some time. You know, we could be out mowing the grass or painting in the house and some other nonsense like that, but hey, we're out here at the reloading bench, so it's a good day. Alright, now that we've got our powder and shot filled up, we'll put our lid back on. Now we're getting real close to reloading here. You're going to have to find this little bushing. It may be found in here. So if you hear something rattling around inside your lid there, it could be this. So before we get started, let's talk about each station. Now we're going to start here on the left on this loader, and we're going to size and deprime or decap. Second station, we're going to seat our new primer. Third station right here in the middle, a lot going on here. We're dropping powder first, then we're seating a wad, and then we're going to drop shot on top of that wad. Now we've got 2 stations right here. These are our pre-crimps. 8-point crimp here, 6-point crimp in the back. Okay, if you don't know, just take a look and see how many little segments you have there. We're going to be using the 8-point. So we'll be using the front. And then our final crimp is going to be the last station. Let's load some shotgun shells. Alright, so we're going to take our hole. We're going to take this little bushing, and with this groove, it's going to be towards the top of the shotgun shell. And we're going to put it in this first station. And remember, this is going to size and decap. See, the primer's gone, and this thing feels like it's stuck in there. Now what happened to the primer? Well, the primer went down through this hole and is hiding behind that cool little trapdoor right there. Now, speaking of primers, we're going to get our new primer, and it's going to go in just like that down into this slot. Okay, we've got our new primer in there now, so we take our deprimed hull, we put it in station 2, and we press down our handle. So that pushed us free of this resizing bushing and seated our nice new shiny primer. We're moving on to station 3. Do you remember the first thing that we do in station 3? We have to drop powder. So press our handle down, charge bar to the right. Let up our handle. What goes in next? Our wad. I'm using TGT 12s. Press our handle down. It seated the wad. With the handle down, push the charge bar to the left. That dropped our shot. You can see our shot in there. Don't drop it. We want our 8-point crimp, so it goes on the front. If we wanted 6-point crimp, it would go on the rear. Press the handle down, and we have a nice pre-crimp. Move it to the last station. Press the handle down, back up, and there we go. That could use a little bit more. Let's just that looks a little bit better. Okay, looks like a miniature green pizza. And that shell is ready to go bang. So let's step through another one. Take our resizing bushing or resizing ring. That groove is towards the top of the shell. Put it in station 1. Okay, press the handle down. Takes a little bit of force, not a lot. Old primer's out. Put our new primer in. Resizing ring comes off. New primer is seated. Onto station 3. Press the handle down. Drop powder. Handle up. We get our wad. Seat that. With the handle down, charge bar to the left to drop shot. Okay, station 4 for our pre-crimp. Got a nice pre-crimp there. And station 5 for our final crimp. Okay, I've got 3 more holes here. Let's run through these without me yakking a lot. Woo, look at that. That's not real good. Set that one aside. Alright, let's see what we can do with this guy. Alright, so I just used a small tool to open that back up a little bit, and we'll put it back in the pre-crimp and see what happens. Okay, that looks at least better than it was. Practically like it never happened. Alright everybody, that about wraps this one up. I appreciate you watching. Hope this video was helpful. Please hit that like button. We'll see you next time. So one more thing I wanted to mention real quick. When you put your Lee load all away, make sure these hoppers are empty. I left powder, specifically 700X, in mine for well over a year, and it fused itself to the plastic and basically just ruined it. So that's a new hopper there that I got from Lee. Actually, they gave it to me for free. But I just wanted to bring that up. Make sure you dump all that powder out if you're not using it in a day or two. So at this point, I'll just slide this over. See, it made a big mess because I got this in the wrong slot.